This wasn't an accident. It was a murder. This was a reckless, careless person that didn't care about people's lives.
Welcome to the Golden Belt Buckle Podcast. If you like what you see, do me a favor, like and subscribe, comment. Got a bit of a, I know that this is a bit of a hot story right now. Andrew Cristillo, 35, killed at Whitchurch-Stouffville. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that very well. His wife and 3 young daughters were injured really bad by 18-year-old Joanne Kerbananthan. This is his second offense, dangerous driving, this time causing death, and then 3 counts causing bodily harm. Last time he did it, he went over 200 kilometers an hour, smashed into Premier Ford's motorcade. That was back in January, and this here just happened in early August. So you got a guy here with a history of dangerous driving, and this is his, well, it'll be his second offense. And as a result, he killed a man who has a wife and 3 young daughters. He took them from them. As Premier Ford said, this wasn't an accident, it was murder, okay? I've said this before myself. It's an accident is like, whoops, you weren't doing anything that a reasonable person wouldn't do behind the wheel. You weren't, you were just driving at a little bit of an error in judgment, but this isn't an error in judgment, okay? You choose to stunt drive. You're doing over 140 kilometers down the freeway or wherever, and you make that choice. That's not an accident when you hit somebody, okay? That is, it might not be premeditated, but it's a type of manslaughter, right? You didn't mean to kill someone, but you willfully chose to drive like an idiot, right? So that's what we got going on here. Second offense, and whatever he gets, I have no sympathy for him because as a father with 5 kids, I know that when little children are small, they look to their moms and dads for comfort, and you take a parent away from them. I mean, I see it with my littlest one now. If you were to take either of us away, he wouldn't understand it, but he would be growing up with trauma that he wouldn't even know that he had. He'd be growing up with abandonment issues and all that. He'd be asking for us and we're not there. Like, it actually breaks your heart to think what would happen if you were taken away from one of your kids when they're small, because they just don't understand, right? You're not there anymore. You're gone. So in this case, these little girls, they just lost their father. Now, I raised a daughter, and I know as a father, I played a massive role in her life, in being her source of validation in this world, right? So I was always her go-to growing up. So if I had been taken away, that would have been horrible for her, okay? That would have been, anyway, so I empathize with this guy's kids, with his wife, his kids, his family, because this 18-year-old driving like a moron for the second time, I mean, he probably drove like that all the time, no regard. He just destroyed a family, right? Absolutely upset their lives. So, I mean, I've met people like this before. They've got absolutely no regard. I met a homeless guy in Chatham. I won't say I remember his name. I won't say his name, but he did something like this. He didn't kill anyone. He almost killed his girlfriend, though. They were drag racing. I think it was Highway 40 they were drag racing on, and they got into a car wreck. Like, he smashed his car up, and his girlfriend almost died. I don't think she died. She almost died. This clown, he couldn't understand when he's telling me about this. He didn't get what he did. He just didn't get it, right? He thought the cops did something wrong. He's complaining to me about how he was treated. And I was like, well, you made the choice. You're driving 180 kilometers an hour down Highway 40. What did you expect, right? But I've seen people like this. They don't get it, right? And for people like this who don't get it, you throw the book at them. Now, in this guy's case, he's going to go, we already covered this in another podcast. We talked about our justice system. They don't like giving out long prison sentences. Most manslaughter convictions that I showed in the last video, you'll get 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 or 6 is pretty harsh. A humble truck driver killed 16 kids, he got 8 years. because he was remorseful, right? He was remorseful. He didn't mean to do it, right? You know, and there's other cases. Rob Ramage, he ended up in prison for a little while. It was like a couple years. I think it was impaired driving. Ended up killing his friend, right? So like they take all these factors in, and they don't like giving out long prison sentences because our justice system sees long prison sentences as dangerous and damaging to the offender, right? Our goal is to always reintegrate people into society, no matter how bad they are. There seems to be this attitude we can just rehabilitate people, right? And so as a result, we have, I don't know, serial killers still sucking air in our system that they should have been put to death, but we don't believe in that kind of thing here. So they're going to give him, I don't know if passing a new law while he's going to trial will have any effect. I'm not a lawyer, but I know the way our court system looks at this. If you just read the opinions and read, just read court documents, how they think about things. They want to reintegrate you. They don't want to damage you too much. And prison is seen as a last resort for people who just don't get it. Lengthy prison terms are, right? Those are the people they want to get off the street. But somebody who's young, has their whole life ahead of them, who acts remorseful, says, well, I didn't mean to do it. You know, I'm really sorry. I won't do it again. They probably won't get a very long sentence. Now, in this guy's case, he's young. That works in his favor. They don't want to ruin the rest of his life. But he's got a prior offense. And to make it worse, like I said, he's smashed into Premier Ford's motorcade. That'll make his case even worse, right? So he's got a prior offense. He just doesn't get it. So he's starting to fall into the category of somebody who just doesn't get it. So his sentence will probably be a little bit harsher. That's what I'm thinking. However, under this new law that they're going to build on, it's going to be immediate suspension until the trial. So you're not just going to get out on bail and get to drive your car until you go to court. You're going to actually lose your driver's license until you are acquitted of the charges. And then this one I don't like, lifetime driving ban after multiple convictions. I don't think I agree with that, right? Number one, your license can already be suspended indefinitely, theoretically, for lifetime. It's a mandatory 1 year, but courts can already take your license away. So this is really nothing new. It didn't say anything about mandatory prison sentences because, again, our court doesn't like mandatory prison sentences. Their philosophy is mandatory prison sentences do not discourage crime. You can read all about it in government documents. But Premier Ford wants to institute mandatory jail time for anyone driving on a disqualified license. So, you know, that's going to be part of it. You know, mandatory jail time for driving. So we'll see how that goes. That kind of goes against what I'm reading our courts like to do. That goes against their philosophy. So, and beyond that, some education for kids in school to teach them how to teach them road safety from the ground up, basically. So I'm not sure how much of this is really new, but I really like the idea of an immediate suspension till you're done your trial, right? I like the idea of harsher harsher consequences for your prospects of ever driving again. I like that. I just don't see why it has to be after multiple offenses because, again, that's kind of already what they do, right? So is this new legislation going to have much teeth? I don't know. Has yet to be seen. But anyways, it's a big announcement. I'd still like to see them do more. Anyways, that's what I got. Cheers. Keep the rubber side down.